The confidence gap versus mind hygiene. Here's the real way to build self-belief. In the book, The Confidence Gap talks about how you want to be able to accept and embrace things instead of trying to fix and control them, which mind hygiene is based on, which is supported by medical evidence. So let's go over some of the key points in the confidence gap, and we'll try to see how we can build confidence by not trying to fix and overcome things, not conquering, but taking action. So number one is to feel the fear and do it anyway. Stop trying to get rid of fear and doubt. That's useless. It's time consuming and it's not going to work. Think about you trying to go drive a car. Are you going to stop at a red light? Are you going to slow down at a yellow light? Are you going to slow down when it turns from red to green and then move forward? Are you going to follow the speed limit? What are you doing here? You're accepting and honoring fear. As it says in the book, you need to feel confident to take action. So you just want to take the next best action step. Let me look left, let me look right, let me slow down, but still something will happen. Here's what we call you using your fear and anxiety to your advantage. Mind hygiene, which is supported by medical evidence, is also the same thing. However, this is a writing technique where before you would drive, you would accept and embrace the fear instead of trying to fix and overcome it. Number two is diffuse from your thoughts. Don't believe that every thought in your mind gives you whatever you feel that it needs to, especially those thoughts where it says that I'm not good enough. You want to learn to observe them and not obey them. So when you say, for example, like when you're 14 years old, hey, I'm not good enough to drive. I'm too stupid. I'm too dumb. You've already given yourself a sentence, a life sentence that you're not good enough. And that's going to apply to many different things. But if you say you're good enough, that's an affirmation that's in the air. It's not going to work. It's not sustainable. What you want to do is you want to say, I am good enough, and here's what I'm doing. So that would be the next action step. When it comes to mind hygiene, you want to write it down. Look, I do believe in myself that I can drive, and here's what I'm going to do. So what you're doing is once again, you're embracing fear and not conquering it. Number three would be willing to feel discomfort. When you first start driving, don't you feel discomfort? When you first go to the gym, don't you feel discomfort? If you're a performer, don't you feel some discomfort? People will call this jitters. People will call this getting pumped up. When you look at basketball players, I'm revved up. I'm ready to go. I can't wait. Those are things that relate to fear. And when it does come to fear, you don't want to be trying to fight it all the time and block it out. That's not going to work. Instead, you want to be willing to feel the discomfort. And in the practice of mind hygiene, which relates to the confidence gap too, is something where you just write it down. Look, I might be fearful when I go on stage, but I'm going to help somebody feel better. Adam Sandler would say his calling in life is to make people laugh. And he's like, I'm scared. I'm going to study the material. I'm going to memorize it. I'm going to talk to my family and friends. And then I'm going to go on stage. Now, I'm not sure if he said that, but I'm sure that him and other figures like who are in comedy will probably agree to this. Number four is take action based on your values. Do not wait for motivation. Choose actions that align with your deeper values. As an example, I want to inspire individuals who live alone to believe in themselves. I've lived alone most of my life. What I've done is I have lived within my values, but not 100%. As an example, I did not like that I was eating sugar. Now, I wasn't hard on myself because in the practice of mind hygiene, I write things down saying that I'm taking the next best step. I'm not going to eat sugar in bed, and then I'm not going to quit sugar, but I'm just not going to eat sugar in bed. So now I'm creating some friction and inertia. And this is from a book called Atomic Habits that I've learned, where you just create friction. Look, I never really liked eating sugar with anybody. I always wanted to eat sugar by myself. It's an interesting thing because I wanted to stuff my face with it. So when I stopped, and I only wanted to eat it in bed. So another interesting thing. So when I stopped that, imagine all of the things that help like in my future. Now I can even inspire people on YouTube. So what have I done here? I've taken action based on my values, and now I'm doing it all the time, meaning it's within my core value set. If you're doing something that's not within your values and you're telling somebody else, it's not going to work. You're not going to keep the promises that you make to yourself, and you won't be confident. Be present. Focus on the here and now, not what's going wrong or being judged. Mindfulness is the tool to ground yourself, and that's the basis of all of this. Mind hygiene is core, it's based on mindfulness, which is focus without judgment. and doing it effectively. Let's take an example of this piece of green branch here. You can see here how this is green, and then there's something here that's holding it together. It's a little straight line, and then you can feel the pricks there. Now, what I'm doing is I'm practicing mindfulness. I'm just observing, I'm participating, and I'm not judging the situation, meaning I'm not saying it's good or bad. And this is like a full-on high. You know, you get high, you understand it, and that's the same thing when it comes to like fear. Okay, let's say I'm scared to go run in the woods, for an example. As an example, I'm like, well, let me just observe it, let me participate in it, and let me just put on the workout clothes first. Then I'll just walk to the woods and I'll stay there for 1 second. And maybe I'll run for 1 second. Now, what you're doing is you're just building yourself up over and over again. And the more you do it, the better you get at it. Professional athletes do this too. The last is to commit and persist. Do not think about smashing every goal. It's not about showing up again and again. Especially, it's about showing up again and again, especially when it's hard. That's the most important thing, is that you want to just keep showing up. If you want to drive, you got to keep driving. If you want to go to the gym and feel better, you got to keep doing it. And you just can't stop, and you got to believe in the process and believe in your limitations, and don't think that it's going to work every time. In the practice of mind hygiene, when you want to feel good, when you want to believe in yourself, there's still about 20% of the day something or another is holding me back. Something is saying, look, you can't do this. Something is saying you don't want to do this. Something is saying you shouldn't do this. But then I've changed those beliefs. Remember, don't, won't, can't, bad, good, stress, difficult are all self-limiting beliefs. Instead, I'll say, look, this person said this about me. Do I believe that about myself if it's good? This person said this about me. Do I believe myself if it's bad? Now what you're doing is you're shifting the attention away from everybody and everything and onto yourself. So at the end of the day, what you want to do is you want to be able to accept fear, be confident in yourself by believing in your limitations, writing it down regularly for 1 to 90 seconds every 90 minutes, which is the practice of mind hygiene, cognitive behavioral therapy, dialectical behavioral therapy, and rational emotive behavioral techniques that will help you feel better every second. And it works about 80% of the time when you're operating at peak level. And I wish you the best in being confident, believing in yourself, and loving yourself. Loving yourself. Namaste.